Wait, you're taking it out of context. The total context here
I'm not taking
was
it out of
support
context,
for the president's
Larry.
policies. Let me go one more. Let me go one more for you on this. The president has asked for the kinds of deregulatory and tax-cutting policies that have made the American economy a success. We're growing twice as fast as our allies. Every person around that table agreed they need to take additional measures to simplify and reduce regulations and taxes and grow more and focus more on prosperity. And that includes reducing trade barriers, and that includes reducing China's trade barriers. So I'm just trying to create the context. Actually, you want to know the truth, Brianna? I know you'll probably not agree. My view was the meeting this morning, in fact, the whole conference, including the unexpected luncheon between President Trump and President Macron, has gone very well, better than we thought, with a very positive vibe. So I will go that far and say, actually, it's been a solid gathering.
All right. Well, I just want to be clear. That was video of Boris Johnson speaking in that very meeting. I just want to be very clear about that. I do want to ask you what the Congressional Budget Office is saying about these tariffs. It's saying that the tariffs are costing American families. They wrote this in a new report this week, quote, "The trade barriers imposed in 2018 reduced both real output and real household income. By 2020, they reduced the level of real U.S. GDP by roughly 0.3% and reduced average real household income by $580. $580, Larry. Do you think that Americans can afford that?"
Well, I probably quibble with that dollar amount that they've had. It wouldn't be the first quibble I've ever had with the CBO. But let me just.
But you said it yourself, May 12th on Fox News, quote, "Both sides will suffer." I mean, this is something that Americans are footing the bill for, whether you dispute the number or not.
Right. If you'd let me finish, I was going to acknowledge that. Thank you very much. Okay. There's virtually no question in our mind that the largest part of the economic burden of the tariffs has fallen on China. The largest part, perhaps by a ratio of 4 to 5 to 1. China has had to slash their currency value, slash their prices, slash their profits. They've lost a couple of million jobs in the last year or year and a half. Supply chains and production are moving out of China. This is all very damaging. Now, to the extent that there is an impact on American business and consumers, it is a small impact. Now, the CBO is using whatever you said, 2/10 or 3/10. That's a very small impact in an economy that's about $21 trillion.
But when you break it down for families,
impact.
So you quibble with $580. What do you think it is? What are your numbers telling you then? Because if you think that's not the number, what is it?
I honestly don't know. I honestly haven't made that calculation. It
then
sounds very high
less?
to me. And remember, hang on one second. Remember, our tax cuts have turned back somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 in lower tax liabilities for average American families. So whatever little hit on tariffs, it's being dwarfed by the tax cuts. And let me also add, in what I believe is still a very strong economy, the biggest beneficiaries of the tax cuts and President Trump's entire program has gone to blue-collar workers and the bottom quintiles, including the bottom 10th percentile of the population. So we are coming out way ahead, in my judgment, and I don't have to deny any impact. There may be a small, minimal impact, which is what I've been saying for several months.
Okay, but as workers are looking at that,
by 4 or 5 to 1's getting it worse.
I do want to ask you this, just because
our tax cuts have overwhelmed that.
And I've heard you make that point. I do want to ask you this because I think it's important. I think voters are looking at this. Can you promise that you'll have a deal with China by Election Day 2020?
I can't make any promises. I don't want to make any forecasts. I will repeat, however, that the negotiations between the two great countries continue. And I think it's always better to talk than not to talk. So therefore, the deputies are going to continue to talk. The principals, we expect China. We're planning on having China come. And let me also add, on the trade front, there is an imminent announcement coming this afternoon here, this morning where you are, with a large-scale trade deal with China that will include agriculture as well as e-commerce and other areas. And let me also add, not only is there a successful trade deal being broken with Japan, but we have a terrific deal with the USMCA, our partners in Canada and Mexico, which will add between 0.5 to 1 percentage point additional GDP per year when the Congress finally enacts the law, hopefully this fall, that will way outweigh any of the small problems with the China trade. So let's look at Japan. Let's look at the USMCA. They're both growth adding, and the economy is in fine shape as the American consumer is booming, and there's virtually no inflation, and interest rates are coming down. I still think it's a good picture.